over 2 years ago, Nancy was here doing the same task she always has when a simple slip changed her life forever.
At first I laughed, but when I tried to get up, I knew there was something wrong.
It may not be a world record, but it's one everybody here is proud of.
Accident-free for over 3 years.
And if you ask them, they know just who to thank.
I don't remember ever feeling that scared before in my life. There was a nurse lying on the floor in front of me, and she wasn't moving.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Health and Safety Report. I'm your host, Rebecca Marshall. Slips and falls, they may seem harmless enough, but these apparently innocent acts can have very serious consequences. A slip is what happens when there is too little traction between footwear and the walking surface, or the walking surfaces are irregular. Slips and falls account for 20% of all injuries in Ontario hospitals, nursing homes, and other healthcare workplaces. That's about 1,200 injured workers every year, and about 42,000 lost workdays. On tonight's program, you're going to meet individuals whose lives have been affected in one way or another as a result of slips and falls. Here's reporter Jay Scott with a story we call No Laughing Matter.
Nancy Travis looks like the picture of health today, but these last 2 years have been trying times for her and her family. This is Oak Avenue Nursing Home in Nepean, Ontario. It is where Nancy worked as a resident dietary aide for 8 years. It is also where Nancy's life took a sudden and dramatic turn for the worse. Just over 2 years ago, Nancy was here in this kitchen doing the same task she always has when a simple slip changed her life forever. A banana peel had fallen out from an overflowing garbage container onto the kitchen floor and in the path of Nancy Travis.
At first I laughed. I thought, I don't believe this. It's like something from out of a movie. I was even a little embarrassed. But when I tried to get up, I knew there was something really wrong. I mean, I've had back pain before, but nothing like this. I knew right away it was something serious.
Nancy was immediately taken to hospital for x-rays. Once there, it wasn't long before the problem was discovered. Severe injury to her lower back.
I didn't realize it at the moment, but everything in my life was about to change dramatically. All the little things that I took for granted in life suddenly seemed like a major struggle. I remember at first I was in bed for 3 solid weeks. After that, it was 18 months of physiotherapy and rehab. Even today I can feel some discomfort, something I'm told I'll have to live with for the rest of my life.
It's been almost 2 years now, and Nancy's back has healed enough for her to return to work.
I'm a lot more careful now. Obviously, I'm more aware of my environment. I keep a trained eye on everything around me, making sure there's nothing I can slip or trip on. If I see something, I pick it up or I move it right away. Doesn't matter what I'm doing at the time. And you know, I've noticed other people, staff, residents, they all do the same thing. Seems like my fall has made other people more aware of their environment.
Amazing story, Jay. You must have learned a great deal about slips and falls in researching this story.
I sure did, Rebecca. Pain and suffering for one. And it's not limited to physical anguish only. It can also include mental suffering such as stress-related anxiety, both at work and at home. Well, I also learned that Nancy's story isn't unique. Many of us slip and fall in our workplaces every day, and most times the reasons we do so are so easily preventable. Here's what to keep an eye out for. Look for changes in floor surfaces that can cause you to lose your balance, like moving from a wet floor or carpet to a dry floor, or moving from a dry floor to a wet one. Even changing from a rough surface to a smooth one can cause traction problems. Be especially careful where there's a change in elevation, such as getting onto elevators where the floors don't match up properly. And keep floors clear of litter. Paper is a common culprit. So are spills and greasy buildups on kitchen floors. Even toys in a daycare center or other areas where children play. Also, clean up any solutions or other liquids that may drop to the floor. Weather is another factor to consider. Watch for wet, snowy, or icy spots outside. Inside, watch for puddles that may have formed.
Thanks, Jay. Next, a look at one business that decided prevention is the better cure. We call this Take a Look Around.
This medical center in Exeter, just north of London, Ontario, has a lot to be proud of.
Accident-free for over 3 years.
And if you ask them, they know just who to thank for their years of safety on the job. Their employer and their Joint Health and Safety Committee. Preventing slips and falls in the workplace has always been high on their agenda, but a recent evaluation has forced them to take a closer look at their procedures. Their search began when Mary, one of the nurses at the center, slipped and nearly fell on a staircase landing. Mary thought the floor had been wet, but when she took a closer look, she realized the floor was clean and dry. The committee quickly looked into the cleaning procedures and discovered something they had never considered before to be a safety concern. The very detergent they were using to clean their floors could be the source of a possible hazard. If not diluted properly, detergents can leave a slippery film on floors. So even though they look clean and dry, they could still pose a serious safety hazard. The committee recommended that a pre-dispensing system be installed to accurately measure detergents. And memos were immediately sent out reminding employees to wear only footwear that conforms to the policy of the health center. As a final measure, they recommended that fall prevention floor signs be readily available in all areas of the center. All in all, it's the little things that seem to make the biggest difference when it comes to safety in this workplace.
Now we move from the work of a committee to the work of just one man. This next story proves that preventing slips and falls is everyone's responsibility. And it shows just how far someone will go to make sure their workplace is safe. We call this story, Make Safety Your Business.
My name is Peter Anderson, and I work in the housekeeping department here at City Hospital in Thunder Bay. I guess it all started about a year ago. I was cleaning the floors, much like I always do first thing in the morning. Anyway, this one day I'd already started mopping and realized I'd forgotten to put out a caution sign around the wet area. I really didn't put a lot of thought into it. I just figured, well, it's not that big of a deal. I'll put it out after I finish up. Basically told myself I'd be fine as long as I got to it right away. When I finished, I took the mop and bucket back to the closet and grabbed the sign. When I came back, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was a nurse lying on the floor in front of me. She wasn't moving. I remember just standing there like an idiot holding the sign. I don't remember ever feeling that scared before in my life. Later, I find out she wasn't seriously injured. Today, I'm careful about everything I do in the hospital here. I make a point to follow hospital policy to the letter. I even watch to see how other people do things. If I notice something that looks unsafe, I let them know. I remember it was about 7 months ago when this whole video idea hit me. I was cleaning the monitors around the nursing desk one day, and I looked at them and thought, the security cameras, they see everything. So I went to my supervisor and told him about my idea, and he got me approval to view some of the security tapes to see if I could spot any safety hazards in other parts of the hospital. Here's the first thing I found. Jamie, washing some windows. Except you'll notice that water's spilling on the floor. And here, when he finishes, he goes and gets a mop to clean up. But while he's away, water's still on the floor. Next day, I asked Jamie to look at the tape. I suggested to him that if something like that ever happens again, just move the ladder over the spill until you can get to a mop. He's completely fine with that. Another time, I see this woman trip and almost fall just walking on this rug. So I take a closer look at the carpet and realize that it's worn and frayed. A little tape and it's safe for now. I wrote a report about the incident so that the building manager can look into the problem later. Here, a delivery person leaves a box in the hallway. If you're coming around the corner, you can't see the box, especially if you're carrying something. So I put up a sign that lets everyone know not to stack boxes or anything in that area of the hallway. So far, it's working. I've also noticed that administration offices can be problem areas too. Desk drawers, file cabinets left open, extension cords running across floors. I've had a couple of people say to me, Peter, why do you bother with all this? Wouldn't it be easier just to watch out for yourself? Is it really worth the extra effort? I tell them it's no effort. See what can happen when you sacrifice safety.
Peter's one-man crusade has obviously made a difference in his workplace. Joining us now is Beth Rodden, a health and safety expert. Beth, what do all the stories we've seen here tonight have in common?
That's a good question, Rebecca. There's a definite theme emanating from these stories. Quite simply, Preventing slips and falls in the healthcare workplace is everyone's responsibility.
But if you were to leave people with some simple rules to follow about avoiding slips and falls, what would they be?
Always be aware of what's happening around you. That means keeping your eyes looking ahead. Be especially aware of changing floor conditions that might make you lose traction. Clean up any spills that you may cause or you might see on a floor. Avoid cluttering walkways with bags or boxes, and wear shoes that conform to the policies of your workplace. Also, log or report anything that looks to be hazardous.
Thanks, Beth. And thank you for watching this edition of Health and Safety Report. I'm Rebecca Marshall, reminding you to make prevention of slips and falls a priority in your workplace and in your life. Good night.